All right, so some crazy news here from Canon. Now, a lot of the people in the video world are focused on the Canon C50 and the Nikon ZR. Some big news there in the camera department for especially a lot of video shooters. On the photo side, you know, we're still processing a lot of vintage cameras, digital, Leica, film cameras, all of that stuff going on as far as the viewing that I'm doing on YouTube and the stuff that I'm checking out in photography magazines and with the different photographers that I'm most interested in. But Canon on September 9th, this was just a week ago basically, quietly announced that they are releasing a brand new model of ultra compact digital camera. Now they currently have two cameras in their lineup, the PowerShot V1, which is $929, and it's more video forward in my opinion, although it can certainly do photography. And then there is the G7X Mark III, which from what I understand has been unavailable from Canon for a long time. It's still a current model. It's not discontinued as far as I know, but you can't get it anywhere. Obviously the used market, it's available, but that's what we've got as far as Canon's ultra compact lineup, which used to be, you know, 10 plus years ago, 15, 20 years ago, before cell phones came out, used to be a very diverse lineup. And I've been able to sample a lot of those cameras from the late 90s, especially into the 2000s and late 2000s, an era where I didn't use digital cameras at all. I went from disposable film cameras straight into the iPhone 4, and I don't know that I ever owned my own compact digital camera. Significant others, friends had them, sometimes I'd use them, but that was about it. And while I did have a digital camera before the iPhone, it was a Sony DSLR camera, an Alpha 200. So a little bit different than these ultra compacts. Anyway, won't spend too much time on that. But again, on September 9th, and I've got, you know, my little cheat sheet here so I can reference some of these things as we go through a few things. We're going to go through the details of the camera, especially look at the specs, talk about what's different from this camera and the previous model, which came out just about 10 years ago. And then we'll look at what does this mean for the world of photography, for cameras moving forward? I know a lot of you who are professional photographers, hobbyist photographers, art photographers, a Digicam isn't something that really excites you. It's more for people that want to carry something compact, but it's not their phone. They want to take photos of their family, going out with friends, stuff like that. Anyway, the last new Canon Digicam was the PowerShot ELPH 360 HS. It was in 2016 that came out, and it was a retail price of $209 USD, and that's going to be one of the key differences here with this new camera. The new is called the Canon PowerShot ELPH 360 HSA, and it is $379 USD, which is a $170 price increase from that model from about 10 years ago. But that model has been selling on the used market for between $350, $360-ish dollars, and Canon priced it based on that that price that it's been selling for. And so people now have the choice to get the brand new version with a couple of minor differences from the previous one at $380, manufacturer's warranty, all that stuff. So I'll be curious to know what this does to impact the used market when it comes to these point and shoot cameras. Now, this camera is not currently available for sale. You can pre-order it on B&H. And I'll have a link down there in the description, an affiliate link. If you want to pre-order this camera, you can use that link to do so. Canon has a notify me when it's available thing on their website. So we'll see. I'm sure there's some other online retailers that have it ready for pre-order as well. B&H is my favorite. So the camera, again, is pretty much identical to the 360 HS, with the key difference being that the new camera has a micro SD slot instead of a standard SD card slot. So for all of us like me who have a ton of SD cards laying around, old ones and newer ones, they're not going to be compatible with this new camera. You're going to need to get a micro SD memory card. Those are certainly perfectly abundant. You can get them everywhere from Walmart, B&H. I'll put a link to my preferred micro SD card down in the description as well. But those are available everywhere. Here are some other differences. You can't download images from the camera to a computer over Wi-Fi anymore. You can't wirelessly send images from the camera to a PictBridge printer. And then lastly, Canon is only offering 2 colors, silver and black. They used to offer a purple option, and I've actually had not the 360 HS, but a purple Canon, and I've shot with it on my other photography channel. That's just a channel where I don't appear on camera. I just showcase my work in these videos that I refer to as vibescapes. It's just images and then video, sound effects, music, natural sound from the environment. It's pretty cool. I've got about 1,200 subscribers on that channel. I'll put a link to that down in the description if you're interested in checking it out. But I have a ton of Canon Digicam videos on that channel where I showcase old Canon Digicams and some of the newer ones, but again, 10 plus years old. And actually I have just recently acquired, coincidentally enough, the Canon PowerShot ELPH 350 HS. I picked this up at an estate sale. You're not going to believe it. $20. They didn't have a battery charger to charge the battery and test that it works, so they were only selling it for $20. I got a battery for it and a charger, and it works. Or I got a charger for it. It had a battery, and it works perfectly. So I need to go do a video on this. I might actually sell it because I think I might pre-order the 360 HSA instead. So that might be the thing that I do. Anyway, I feature cameras like this on that channel. It's called Photo Videos. And it's more art photography than just sort of a technical comparison of what it can do. I do lightly edit the photo, so you're not going to see what comes out of camera in those videos. So let's look at some key specs. First, actually, I want to say you can connect the new 360 HSA to Canon's smartphone app. So that's a nice addition as well. So some key specs, and these are essentially identical to the 360 HS. 20.2 megapixel, 1/2.3 inch BSI CMOS sensor. A full 35 millimeter equivalent 25 to 300 millimeter zoom lens. There's 12x optical zoom and a 4 times digital zoom. Max aperture of f3.6 to 7, and the max shutter speed of 1/200 or 1/2000, and then an ISO range of 80 to 3200. Now, there's one setting that I was checking for in the tech specs that matters a lot to me. A lot of these old Canon Digicams have a sort of a creative setting or a picture style setting called positive film. And it is a very subtle film emulation effect that Canon puts on your photos. It bakes it into the JPEGs that you take, and I love it. So I use that setting on all the Canon Digicams that I have, and then I add a little bit of film emulation with an app called RNI Films, and I usually choose Portra 400. I decrease its intensity quite a bit, and then I do all the normal adjustments, little color temperature, tint, shadows, highlights, midtones, and things like that, for a very subtle edit that gives just a little bit of a film vibe to my Digicam cameras, because that's what I love them for. They are a little bit lower resolution. They're not as sharp, especially if you're on a CCD sensor versus the BSI CMOS sensors. And there's just this sort of like mesh of softness throughout the photos while still being in focus and in a sense sharp. There's this dreaminess to them that I really love, especially the older ones. So that's why I do that. The positive film preset is awesome, and this new PowerShot 360 HSA will have the positive film preset. So we have that Canon PowerShot V1. There's now the G7X Mark III. And the ELPH 360 HSA. And just one point on the G7X Mark III. I was at NAB this year in Las Vegas back in April, and I was at the Canon booth. I always stop at the Canon booth whenever I'm there. I've been to NAB twice now, and they had the G7X Mark III there. So it is part of the lineup. I just don't understand what the inventory issue is. Every time I check the website, it's not there, and I would love an opportunity to be able to shoot with one and make a video of what the photos that it can get. And then, of course, the PowerShot ELPH 360 HSA, rounding out camera's PowerShot / ultra compact lineup. So what does this mean? Digicams have really surged in popularity. Probably started 5-ish years ago, if I had to guess. Really picked up a lot of heat. We're in Omaha here, and things take a little bit longer to get here, but I'm sure that these cameras were really surging in popularity on the coast, Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, all along there. And I caught the bug for them as well. I had never really used them before, and then started seeing them at thrift stores when I would go out looking for vinyl records and film cameras. And I started getting interested in the digital cameras and what they could do because I had never shot with them. And I was really impressed with what they could do. Now, I know they don't shoot RAW. I know that there's limited dynamic range, all kinds of stuff. It can't do video, but there's something really fun about the restrictions in those cameras, especially with very few of them having a manual focus option. And that's something interesting about the ELPH 360 HS series is these cameras are actually the most valuable, but they're the ones I personally prefer the least. I have a couple of Canon cameras, one that I've been working with daily in my everyday carry that has full manual controls for ISO, aperture, and focus. And I really love it for that, as well as shutter speed. And it's really great to be able to quickly dial in exposure to the thing that you want to expose for. With these cameras, you really have to use the spot meter to grab your exposure of the thing that you want to preserve highlights or expose for shadows, and then recompose your image. And it works fine, but there's something about having a little compact digital camera with full manual controls, and I've shot with a few of them. So I think that as influencers and social media and people sort of have settled into this life with smartphones and social media, you can see this growing pull for people to start reducing their time on their smartphones in social media and get out and have experiences that aren't connected to a phone. And so as Steve Jobs and the iPhone sort of took all these separate elements, an iPod, a camera, a computer, and put them all onto one device, you can see now, going on almost 20 years later, you can see a lot of people wanting to uncouple those items from the iPhone. We want a separate camera. We want, we see a surge in popularity with the iPod Classic and portable MP3 type players. Even portable Walkmans and CD players I've seen around in a little bit here in Omaha. We want to try to be present. We want to take photos, but not immediately be able to upload it to social media or start editing them or doing what we can do with them on our phones. And I've really enjoyed that as well, so much so that I started that second channel from my main channel, and now I have this channel so I can actually talk about all of this stuff. And funnily enough, I started this channel just really a month or so ago, and then Canon, seemingly out of nowhere, drops this huge news that they're going to have this ultra compact Digicam for the first time in almost 10 years. But I think overall, we're just getting a little tired of our cell phones. We're getting a little tired of social media. And I think we're also getting tired of these over-processed photos on our iPhone. Now, I know that there are third-party apps that let you control some of these things, sharpening and HDR and all the different things that Apple is using software to do to our photos to make taking a photo for just the average person, pretty painless. But I just don't love those photos. I don't love the sharpness. I don't love all of the processing that's going on, especially when you're in environments where you have sort of a dynamic range nightmare, midday sun, super bright highlights, very dark shadows, high contrast, all of that. The iPhone sort of taking these multiple exposures and layering them together. I just don't like the look of it. So are we going to see a resurgence in Canon's portable, ultra compact Digicam lineup? I think they're going to test the waters with the low risk option in this PowerShot ELPH 360 HSA. I think that they're going to see what happens because they didn't really have to do all that much other than, I guess, spin up the factory equipment that assembled this camera 10 years ago, get that back up and running with a few adaptations to the design, the micro SD card being the main one, and then see what happens, see what sales they're seeing. Will this bring the G7X Mark III back into stock regularly? Will they release a ultra compact PowerShot with full manual controls in this price point or even less, $380-ish or less? Canon had quite a few of those cameras, and I actually have one. I'm going to get it because it's cool. This is a camera that has full manual controls. It's in their SX lineup, the PowerShot SX 230 HS. This has a nice 16:9 display instead of 4:3, but it has full manual controls. You can adjust aperture, shutter speed, ISO, all of that stuff with this little ultra compact camera. And this, the photos that this takes with the positive film preset are excellent. And it's one of my best performing videos on that other channel. It's really a really amazing camera, and I got it for like $20 at a thrift store. So will Canon reintroduce the SX lineup? Will they bring new models of the G series camera? Will they explore a pipe dream, bringing a CCD sensor back in the mix? That would be incredible. The other question, just to round things out for this video, is, are they tempted to bring back a film camera? Maybe not in the SLR format, but maybe test the waters with one of the last point-and-shoot cameras that they had. There were 3 of them: the SureShot 90 U2 date, the SureShot 115 U2 date, and the SureShot 130 U2 date. Those all were discontinued in 2005, 20 years ago. But with the resurgence in film photography, are we going to see Canon bring back a point-and-shoot? Or will they design an all-new camera with some retro vibes, hopefully back to the 90s or even the 80s as opposed to the 2000s, and see what they can do to bring back film cameras? Now, that would be incredible. All in all, I think that this resurgence in popularity of cameras that aren't our phones is really exciting. And I think the resurgence in analog technology that we see in film cameras is really exciting, and I, of course, am all in. I've got a Canon F1 SLR, I've got the Canon QL17, the Canon Canonet QL17, and then a bunch of Canon point-and-shoot cameras as well. I just picked up another Canon F1 at an estate sale, and I'm going to make a video all about my latest estate sale finds as well. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, definitely get subscribed, because I'm not only going to be talking about topical things like this, giving thoughts on specific cameras, but also showing you what cameras I acquire from thrift stores and estate sales, cameras that I either keep in my collection, use on my other channel, or sell for a profit to continue to fund my life as a content creator and photographer, artist, filmmaker, whatever you want to call it. So I'm really excited about what the future holds, and Canon releasing this Digicam is really, really intriguing, completely unexpected. And while the C50 sort of took all of the excitement, and then the Nikon ZR stole all of that excitement, at least in my circles it did, the PowerShot ELPH 360 HSA, the first new Canon ultra compact camera in almost 10 years. What an unbelievable thing, and I am absolutely excited, and hope to get my hands on it after pre-ordering it through B&H. So definitely take a look at that link if you want to pre-order it. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. If you have your input on what this means for cameras and photography moving forward, what this means in the bigger picture of how we as people are handling our cell phones and social media and getting into analog tech and sort of going backwards with technology rather than forward, I'd love to hear your thoughts. That's all I've got for this one, everyone. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.